What's up guys, this is going to be a comparison video between the Transformer Prime quad core on the left and the new Nexus 10 dual core on the right. I'm just going to go ahead and start these off with a boot test. Both pretty much exactly the same time. I did actually make a separate video for this, but people suggested that my Prime had stuff on it, so I've actually done a factory reset on the Prime. Whereas this still has the stuff like the benchmarks that I've been doing and playing around with it and all that stuff. So this is going to be a fair test, and there we go. It's done, unlocked, loading a widget, but we've got the Gmails coming through. As you can see, it is loading up and it's done, and it's now going to be epically smooth. Everything's going to be accessible, no problems. Over here we are still loading, so the dual core definitely wins, and we're done now. We'll unlock. And I don't know if that's coming through on the camera. You can see we've had a reload there. If it's coming through on the camera, but you can see that screen flicker. Now I've turned these up both to full brightness, and I'll have to press this button here, which is the IPS Plus display mode, that makes it kind of even brighter and it stops that flickering. So that's something to note. Now in terms of the brightness, I'd say they're both on full brightness, as you can see here. This screen is brighter. The Transformer Prime seems to give out more brightness, but in terms of screen quality and clarity, yeah, you have to give it to the Nexus 10. I'm sure it won't be coming through that well on there, but you can definitely see when you look at the very closely at like the camera app and the icons, just the general icons, it is much sharper over here, and you know that's pretty obvious. We're running a 1280 by 800 pixels over here, and over here we're running 2560 sorry by 1600 with a pixel density of 300 ppi. So yeah, the highest resolution tablet in the world over here. Android 4.2 over here, Android 4.1.1 over here. You can see the differences. Here's the menu for Android 4.1, and the menu to get into your apps is up here. Over on the Nexus 4.2, they've changed that now. So you've got the notifications over here, and you've got your quick settings over here. There's nothing in the bottom right hand corner, and you've got your settings to go and multitask over here, whereas your multitask and back and home keys are over here on this tablet. So interestingly enough, let's go ahead and do some speed tests and see if we can see any difference in the general performance. Like I said, this is a 1.7 GHz dual core processor. This is a Tegra 3 1.4 GHz quad core. So as we flick through the home screens here, you can see it's very smooth. Everything looks like it's locked exactly at 60 frames per second at all times. Over here, again, I can't see much because I haven't got many widgets, but pretty damn smooth actually. If we do a comparison between the two, pretty similar in terms of performance. If we go ahead and jump into the settings, I'll try and do this at the same time. Pretty similar there, but I think the Nexus 10 wins out. Now if we do this, I don't know how well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this light off. Hopefully that makes it a bit easier to see this bit. We can see, if you look on the left, you can see as I do this, there is some stutter as I swipe the finger across, whereas on the Nexus 10 on the right there is no stutter whatsoever. You know, it's just a bit smoother, and there are more apps on the Nexus 10 than there are on my Transformer Prime, and you can just see it there. It's only very slight, but it is there. You can see a slight judder when panning across, whereas on the Nexus 10 it isn't there. So you know, and we can zoom through these. Oops. We can zoom through these, and both of them show very little to no lag. So, but again, I've got to give it to the Nexus 10. It is just that hair quicker at doing stuff. So let's go back out. I'm going to go ahead and do a browser speed test now, and I've installed Dolphin on both because you know this has got the browser as its stock, and this has got Chrome, and I've made a whole video about why Chrome sucks. So I went ahead and installed Dolphin. on both. You can see it loaded up pretty much the same time, but a hair quicker on the Nexus 10. Let's have a look over here. Let's go ahead and do the verge. You can see the verge is there already. So on this one, the verge, it's probably better if I just type it in, to be honest. theverge.com. I'm going to try and hit go at the same time here. So 1, 2, 3, pretty much the same time. They're both off. Displayed first over here on the Nexus 10, and fully loaded over here on the Nexus 10 we are now. So you can see nice and responsive, pinch to zoom, absolutely butter. Still loading over the Nexus 10, the Transformer Prime, and it's just finished. You can see it's actually still loading, and once it's loaded it is also smooth, but you can see some stutter there and a bit of lag, not quite as smooth as the Nexus 10, so a lot faster when it came to this website. And let's just do a pinch to zoom comparison here if I put these a bit more in the middle. Frame rates just seem better on the Nexus 10. You know, it just seems a little bit smoother. Over here it's not bad, it's just, you know, it's a bit janky, it's probably a good word to use it. You can just see there the performance is, you can see it. I mean, it's visible to see. Let's try another website. Go ahead and we'll do Android Central. Keyboard, this Asus keyboard over here is rubbish, by the way. Really don't like it. No, I missed it. Central.com. Okay, let's go ahead and hit go at the same time. And they're off, and we are already loading. Pretty neck and neck, but this showed up first and is displaying first. We'll wait for these bars. We're done over here. Here we're still loading, and you can see the performance is great. Over here, no problems whatsoever. Pinch to zoom, very responsive. We are still loading over here, and we're done now over here. And yeah, once it's loaded again, it is nice and smooth. Let's go ahead and do a comparison with the pinch to zoom on this picture. Yeah, why not? You can actually see, yeah, you can see there, it's definitely smoother on the Nexus 10 than it is on the Transformer Prime. Much smoother browsing experience. You can see it has some problems with some white checkerboarding over here as well, whereas on the Nexus 10 you get none of that. We'll try one more website. We'll try Engadget because that's quite a heavy one. Although I think they've changed it recently, it doesn't let me zoom in, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Engadget over here. Go ahead and hit go at the same time. Tight, but it's displayed here again, and we're finished over here. Like I said, it doesn't let me zoom now, this new website. Still loading over here, but you know, it's all loaded on the Nexus 10. And we're finished now over here. And it's quick, but it's just not as quick. And it, you know, it has some moments where it goes through some crazy frame drops, and I'm not sure why that is. It's just a lot faster over here on the 10. The browsing is so much better, and it is the same browser, it is the same version. I'll try one more just to make it solid, even though it's won every test. Gonna go ahead and hit Android Community. There isn't any flash running on either of them. So 1, 2, 3, go. Pretty neck and neck at the moment. Loaded here first. This is actually usable while it's loading. This one, while it's loading, yeah, it's usable as well actually. So I'll scrap saying anything. Finished over here. You say pinch to zoom. Very nice and responsive, no white checkerboarding. We're still finished up loading over here. Don't know if you can see that bar, but it is there. And we are still loading. One thing I need to say about this screen is text is so much better over here, which is just expected. Still loading over here, I don't know what's going on. But clearly the Nexus 10 has won. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom into some text so you can see the difference. And just before I do that, you can see the whites on this screen are much better than the whites on this screen. This kind of gives a cream coloured, whereas this is pure white. So if we go ahead and zoom into this text here, you can really see the difference. There is no pixelation here. And it still looks good over here, but you can just fall in love with the screen. It makes a massive, massive difference. The resolution and the pixel density is fantastic. As I said, it's still loading, so it's had some sort of problem. Pinch to zoom again, you can just see the one on the left, the Transformer Prime, dropping a few frames every time I zoom in and out, whereas the Nexus 10 on the right does not drop any frames at any point. So fantastic there. You can do it a bit quicker, see. It's just better. You get a better browsing experience on this device than you do on this device. Even though that's quad-core at 1.4, this is dual-core at 1.7. It's new architecture, it's got a better GPU. So I'm going to go ahead now and do some speed tests. Some benchmarks, sorry. And we'll start off with Geekbench, which tests the CPU performance. And I'll tell you what, actually, we'll do a speed test on opening apps. Let me just close up that test. Whoops. Was going to be a fair test. Is going to be a fair test. In 1, 2, 3. Pretty much identical there. So let's just go ahead and run this. You can see the difference here. 2 GB of memory over here. 1. What? Okay, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go ahead and run the benchmark, and we'll get the results at the end. So we finished over here. I did hit it earlier because I messed up over here. 2688 over here. So a great score, and one of the best scores I've seen on Geekbench on any device, and that does include the iPad. And we're still running over here. Still running, and 1483 over here, so a big difference, nearly 1,000+ points difference in this test, so that's something to note. So I've turned it this way because the benchmark light shows better and it's easier to fit on camera and you'll be able to see a better difference. I'm going to do Antutu next, and I'm going to open these at the same time. Both pretty much opened at the same time, maybe a hair quicker here. Quicker to load up fully on the Prime, interestingly enough, and this Antutu benchmark isn't the one you'll find in the market. This is actually version 3, so it's been updated with new graphical tests. It should support more stuff. It should support Android 4.2 a lot better over here. So let's go ahead and start both these tests together, and we'll see if we got a difference. I'm not going to skip to the results because I want you to see the frames per second and see if this one takes a lead or if this one takes a lead. It is a quad core over here versus a dual core over here. At the moment they are neck and neck, both on 7%. Who's going to take the lead? We're both on 14. Neck and neck right now. %20 over here, 27. It has taken the lead, the Nexus 10 tablet, in the CPU tests, still on 14% over here. Now we've moved up to 20, 34, 27 over here. We've definitely taken a solid lead over the Transformer Prime. Nearly halfway through the test here on the Transformer Prime. We are 34% of the way through. And we've gone on to the graphical tests here. And just remember what this looks like, because it's high resolution, nice little dots, everything's really clear. I want you to take note when that comes over here. All these animations look nice and smooth, and you can see what I mean by the difference. It is bigger over here, right? The resolution is higher over here, and you can definitely see that in these tests. Frames per second down here, 57, 58, 58.9, 59.9, 59.2. So pretty much frame capping over here. Here we're about to see what it gets. And there's no frames yet on here. Here we're hitting 17 to 20, and over here you can see here it's 44. Over here we were getting at that point probably 58. So over 10 frames more per second, and we're running at a higher resolution. That just goes to show you this graphics chip in here is so much stronger than the Tegra 3. And you can just see the difference in resolution here. So we're hitting 17 frames over here, and here on the Transformer Prime we're hitting 6.5. And we're finished over here, and it's hitting 7, 8.9, 9.6, 9.5 over here, 11.7. So this was hitting about 15, 17 frames. So it supports a higher resolution, and it's faster in its graphical tests. Now we're testing SD read and write. We are still in front over here. I do feel like this has caught up a little bit, but there we go, we're finished. And we've got a score of 13770 on the Nexus 10 tablet. And we'll just wait for the Transformer Prime to finish up here. I'll see if I can zoom in for you. Just move this over. Okay, and there we go. It's got a score, not a bad score at all, a 12038. But the Nexus 10 does win with a 13770. Interestingly enough, this scores higher in the CPU than this does, even though this took the lead in the CPU department. Strange. This absolutely smashes the RAM compared to the Transformer Prime, and the GPU also smashes the Transformer Prime's GPU, as you can see there. It's 5,303 over here on the Nexus 10, whereas it's 3,165 on the Transformer Prime on the GPU. So let's go ahead and submit. Now, I don't know what happened there. This is a big deal because the Transformer Prime is running at an 800 resolution, a 1280 by 800 resolution, whereas the Nexus 10 is running at a 2560 by 1600, and it's still managing to push out higher frames per second and score an overall better score than the Transformer Prime. So it just shows you its absolute dominance over here on the Nexus 10 tablet. There's no two ways about it. It has a stronger everything. The screen's better, stronger CPU and GPU, even though it's dual versus a quad, sorry. And I don't know what's taking so long here, but there seems to be some server errors, so I'm going to get out of that and just go back into it. And what we can do is just go ahead and look at the bar chart. I find it really strange how that one loads first. I don't know what this is doing over here, but this scores higher. So if we go ahead and look at the chart here, we'll go ahead and switch over to the bar chart, and you can see there's the device that I did. It does LG Optimus G is on the top, but obviously let's remember that this is running a much higher resolution than all of these devices on top of it. Most of these are running 720p. This is running a lot higher. Again, I don't know what the Prime is doing over here. What are you doing, Prime? There we go. You can see it just scores a little below where it thinks it should score. But the device does score on top of the Asus Transformer Prime, which is a quad-core machine. So there you go on that test. I will leave it like this because it's a little bit easier. And the last test I'm going to run is VilleMo. The reason, hold on, let me just shut out these. The reason I'm going to run VilleMo and not like Quadrant is because one, Quadrant hasn't been updated for ages, and two, okay, so I can't run it like that, and two, VilleMo is actually a user experience benchmark, so it means more. Let's go ahead and do the metal test first, which is a CPU test. It wasn't really at the same time, but it doesn't matter. We'll get the score at the end nonetheless. I will skip to the end of this one because it's not really interesting. So, and we've finished up with the results, guys, and I pressed submit on both, and what a difference. This tests the CPU, and the Nexus 10 scores 1208, which is the highest device in their list by a long way. The next one is the HTC One X, which is an absolute mile behind, scoring 613. On the Transformer Prime, we've got a score of 355, which looks absolutely terrible compared to this. And it puts it quite low down, in all honesty. You know, it puts it below the Galaxy Nexus, below the S2 international version, below quite a lot, so I don't know what's going on there. Next up, we'll do the HTML5 test, which will test like the browser and all that stuff. And again, I will skip to the end because it's a long and boring test. And we're back, guys, and the score on the Nexus 10 is 1862, which again tops the charts. The closest one is the HTC One X with a 1625. Over here, it's a bit closer than it was in the metal test, but it's a 1152. Again, not a candle to the Nexus 10 in terms of this. And you can see just where it comes behind a lot of devices here. In terms of pure performance, the Nexus 10 wins outright. There's just no two ways about it. It's a better browsing performance machine. It's better it's better in every way, probably except one, and I'm going to talk about that now. So we know that in terms of pure tablet performance, the Nexus 10 beats the Transformer Prime, but where the Transformer Prime beats the Nexus is right here, the keyboard. And this is a big deal, you know, because the Transformer Prime can plug into the keyboard like so, and it becomes basically a laptop with a full keyboard, and that's a big deal. You can see it adds a lot of stuff. You know, you have on here, you have a full USB port right here. You have a full micro card reader, SD card reader, sorry. And that's a big deal. It also obviously comes with a massive battery, so it extends the battery life. So if you're looking for a device with ports and like a mouse and a trackpad, then there's no point in even looking at the Nexus 10, even though the Nexus 10 performs better in terms of it's just tablet. If you're looking for just a tablet, then hands down the Nexus 10 wins. But if you're looking for kind of a hybrid model with a full USB and a full SD card that you can take with you and keep probably charged for ages, considering it has an extra battery, then the Transformer Prime is going to win for you. So just take that into account. I did want to mention that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my review, a comparison between the Transformer Prime and the Nexus 10. In terms of pure tablet performance, you have to give it to the Nexus 10. There's no two ways about it. In terms of ports and all that stuff, usability maybe, in terms of accessories, you probably give it to the Prime. But yeah, just talking about the tablet stuff, browsing, games, Nexus 10's where it's at.